I thought it was very interesting. I found that you led a Sasquatch tracking course back in the day.
Yeah, through those same individuals that I'd met, those first individuals in Georgia that had found that track and posted it on that forum, they were all heavily into the step-by-step method of man tracking, essentially, which is used. And so there were a lot of pioneers of that style and people who rose to prominence teaching it and writing about it. Like one of the best books in that regard is called The Fundamentals of Man Tracking by a guy named Taylor or Ab Cooper. Ab Taylor, I think. It's been a while. But probably one of the most renowned people in that sort of skill set was a Border Patrol agent named Joel Hardin. Joel, you listeners might recognize him. He was the guy that came in and was the first to really poo-poo Freeman's tracks in 1982 in the Blue Mountains. He was the one that, you know, when,
all right.
In Krantz's book that he's battling against when he's describing the reasons that Freeman's trackway in the ground was dismissed. The points that Krantz is rebutting are Joel Hardin's points.
Interesting.
So meeting these guys, and what happens in a lot of those cases too is like subsequent to if a crime occurs or if something did happen to a person, they would bring in a tracker to evaluate all the sign, and then that person might testify at a trial or something like that. So the step-by-step method, I guess it can be done fairly quickly if you are trying to find a missing person or if you're trying to apprehend a criminal, which is a lot of what Joel Hardin was trying to do in Border Patrol with search and rescue and with, you know, trying to find people who were like fugitives, let's say. So I took Joel Hardin's course in 2007. It's the Joel Hardin School of Professional Trackers, and they taught a course up in Appomattox, Virginia. And at the insistence of my friends who had taken these sorts of courses multiple times, they said, you got to do this one. And it's Joel Hardin. He's like the most legendary tracker ever. You should go do it. And it was great. Again, it was 2007. It was before I joined the BFRO. My friends, they were all older than me. They were all in their 40s. I was in my 20s. And so they were like, I was forbidden to talk about Sasquatch. They were like, you are not going to bring up Sasquatch. You're not going to embarrass us. So it was interesting because I remember there was trying to think about how many people were in this class, probably somewhere around 30 to 40 from memory. There's a picture of it up on my blog if that thing's still up. But yeah, we're in this room and there's this big long table. It was at a 4-H camp in Appomattox, Virginia that they had rented. And they went around the room talking to people, and it was like all these professional search and rescue guys and a lot of law enforcement. And then it got to me, and I was like, what do I say? I'm just really interested in learning tracking. Because all these guys were all badasses who were saving people's lives. And I was like this Bigfoot dork who wanted to learn tracking.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Unfortunately, I didn't get to talk to Joel about the Bigfoot thing and the Paul Freeman case and all that. But so after we took that course, my friend, it was a gentleman back that I was associated with back then named Lee Culver, thought we could have a course that's like this for Sasquatch researchers.
Sure.
But incorporate a lot of the information that Grover Krantz's interpretations about foot morphology or his inferred foot morphology and a lot of Jeff Meldrum's interpretations about that. So it would be like a primer to Sasquatch field researchers about these sorts of the essential elements of man tracking and how to document tracks in this sort of as forensic a way as possible, or something that would really, that's the kind of documentation that would hold up. And then also incorporate everything that we think we know about the Sasquatch foot and how it functions, and a lot of examples of Sasquatch tracks from the data set, et cetera. So we did one of those in North Georgia for the Georgia BFRO at the time. And then we did another one in 2009 in Utah. That was a great trip with the Utah chapter, the BFR. We were out there on the Duchesne River for a few days in a gorgeous, amazing place in the Uintas there. So it's something I would love to get back into. I'm not super talented at it. It really is an art. Being on those teams and learning from those trackers was just mind-blowing, the things that they would see. And I'm sure it's just something through time and repetition. I've played music and recorded music for so long, like I can hear a song and be like, oh, that's an 18-inch kick drum, and that's a Stratocaster on the 2nd position or on the 4th position, or those are humbuckers. That sounds like a Les Paul. Where other people would go, huh? And that's how those trackers were looking at stuff on the ground. These little micro sign almost that it's what the hell, but it's a fascinating sort of art, let's say, or you know, it's an art and a skill. But for me, it's not abstract, but it's far enough out of my reach that it might as well be abstract. So it's more art than skill for me. I'm still fascinated by it. But